Good evening, everyone. We are live with Rolf's story, the Stratus Archipelago, Temple of the Sun and Moon, Kashan's Ark, aka. There's so many names for this one arc or series, but to bring us in and let us know what happened last week, there was quite a lot of dialogue exchanged. Hopefully, it can all be perfectly surmised by Steph.
I don't know about perfectly surmised, but I'm gonna try and yeah.
Oh,
Okay,
geez, Irina. Even.
so giant Hydra. Uh, we make friends with, so we can't attack yet. Start walking along. Suddenly, another one comes out of nowhere. They start rampaging against each other. Poison. For some reason, Carius decides to mimic my accent, which is kind of rude, but all right, I'll let him have it. Storm Sphere, uh, a bet where I'm apparently loser for life. Andy does some weird thing with her bow and arrow, and Llewellyn falls down a hole, and much the same as normal. We then find the Siggy leaves, who are apparently tree people who are branches from the same tree, and in order to get into the temple, we have to become one with them. So essentially becoming branches of this tree ourselves, but in that sense, there's no way of leaving, pun not intended. I think that about sums it up.
Sure. All right. Yeah, realizing these tree-like elves seem to be some sort of hive mind. It quickly became apparent that they seem to share very similar beliefs, and well, they openly spread a message of peace and natural growth. But it seems as though there may be a few problems with that belief. In that, what happens when people get in the way of that natural growth? Most notably, the poor Borzo tribe. I think he started to unravel the potential conflicts that these two tribes are having with one another. But yes, those hydras were definitely a bit out of control. They're definitely bigger and, well, unlike normal hydras you've seen, that's for sure. One pair seem to have a lion's head or feline-like head. The others seem to have snake heads. But either way, there was one last thing you did see, and it was as you guys were greeted by these, they showed you a display of their power, and it seems like they performed some sort of ritual to make this tree burst out of the ground like a giant beanstalk, and just kept on going and going, forming pathways and branches like a maze-like structure in the canopy. And another part you saw was an elemental kind of burst from this tree and begin to affect the nature around it, evolving it, enlarging it, etc. I believe Irene also uncovered some ruins as well. It seemed to be was buried with the earth, but then seems to be now attached to the actual trees itself. Anyway, you were kind of settling down for a long rest, I believe. So you guys can take your long rest now if you wish.
I wish to speak to the sigil leaves before I have my long rest,
Okay.
purely because it will decide exactly what I do during the long rest.
Absolutely.
So,
All right.
right. So sigil leaves. All right. Just before we take our rest, which as elves, I'm not sure you're that familiar with, not being races or anything. That's just what I know of elves. All right. So there's a couple of things I just want to clarify so I have the right mindset before I go to sleep. Help me with my decision making. So, your whole stick is you worship the sun because it gives life, and you like being up here because it's closer to the sun, right?
Yes.
And in order to get into the temple, which we want to get into so we can understand your past a bit, we need to become you, right?
That is right. To enter into the Temple of Sun, all must be one. One with the sun.
Right. Now, forgive me if this sounds a little rude, but have any of you ever left this island at all?
Why
Like,
would we need
ever?
to?
Well,
There is
because
peace here.
yeah, but there's also what's the most polite way of saying this? A little bit of your viewpoint is a little narrow. Your understanding of the sun is a little bit narrow, which I get. Like, you worship the sun here, you know all about how the sun affects things here. Great. Now, do you know what a desert is?
But of course, yes.
Right. Now, a desert is a place that is generally devoid of most life because it can't get the natural moisture there and it's too damn hot due to an over exposure of sunlight and positioning. So, in that regard, rather than the sun being the bringer of life, it is the ender of life. In a way.
That is due to poor rainfall,
Yes.
not just
But,
the sun.
but your whole point earlier was that we should all worship the sun because the sun is the giver of life. And I actually worship someone who does make it rain, and you're like, nah, you don't need to do that. So
That is not
I'm
what
ju-
we said.
it kind of was.
It is
It
that
was basically like, yeah, the sun brings all life, and without life, there can't be any water. I think was basically your point.
they are all part of a circle.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, whilst there may be peace here and you've got your whole unity thing going on, if you just stay here, you don't have the chance to learn. Your focus becomes purely here, and without learning, that you're sort of stunting your own growth in other ways.
We're saying that we should branch out. Yes, branch out. Grow.
I'm saying it's a potential idea, and I'm thinking that rather than having this whole perspective of everyone needs to be one for you to have that understanding, in order to truly grow as a people and as a world, you need different perspectives. If everyone thinks the same, the world is kind of boring.
Chris, would I be able to request a roll by any chance?
Like a bread roll or a
No,
roll?
I want to request a persuasion roll from both the Sigil Leaves and Carius towards Kashan.
That is going to be tricky, seeing as this is something that's baked into their very flaws. However,
This is more to how Kashan is perceiving either side, which side is more.
oh, I see. For
Understandable.
your sake.
Yeah.
Ah, that makes sense. Okay.
However, if you
Fair.
want to get each individual Sigil Leaves to roll a persuasion check, I'll also accept that. I got time.
I think that won't ever be the case. They are one. They would always roll one. Okay. All right. They say, so in response to that, Garrett, they say, many different perspectives muddy the water. You see, we are together and we are selfless. We are of one mind, and for that we have strong convictions. We always work together. You can see we have, what's the word? Fruit of our...
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one. You know the one. You can see that our flourished land grows strong. Each day, it grows stronger. And that is because we are of one.
But it's also at the sacrifice of others who just might not agree with you. And whilst I get the whole point of, yes, we want peace, yes, we think if everyone's one, it will create peace, you're kind of excluding everyone else's views by that point. And I think if you're excluding everyone's points, then you're sort of denying life. Because you're not allowing it to grow naturally, you're forcing it to grow how you want it to grow.
Individuality is a necessary sacrifice to survive.
I don't know, I consider myself pretty individual. There's no one like me, and honestly, my dad would probably say he really wishes there wasn't anyone like me at points, but I'd say I've managed to survive pretty well. And I'm just saying, like, I don't want to necessarily say you're wrong, but I'm just saying that there is potential you're missing. You're forcing things to grow by making everything think the same way. You're going against the natural order. I mean, as Irina points out, she's basically an embodiment of fire, and I'm an embodiment of the sea, and we get on pretty well.
However, there will be a time when that inequality tips in the balance in the favor of another. Diversity is in fact a weakness. Others, the weaker ones, will be exploited.
Well, I get that, but aren't you doing that right now? Doing the exploiting? You're spreading your way at the expense of others. Like, yes, I get you want them to be one with you, and if they join you, but that's
They are
still...
welcome to exist on our same level. All beings should.
But you are essentially ignoring their side of things by believing yourself is correct. You are creating an imbalance.
It is our belief
There
that
can be no sun without moon. There cannot be no light without dark.
you see that this individuality is a negative. You see that it is preventing them from identifying with each other. It is it is the responsibility for each of us to help and provide the needs of others. But so long as they thrash against that, they do not share a community interest and goal. They love and care only for the people of their clan.
Well, that's kind of what you're doing, except you're basically like, yeah, we'll love you and care for you, providing you become one of us.
We can only have peace through unity. And
So
at this
why
point,
don't you join them?
at this point, you see Ripdiv has disappeared. You look around for him, and he seems to have scampered away at some point during this whole conversation. But I think at that point, we're going to roll a d20 anyway.
Yep.
So...
Hey, did he sneak off with more than a 21?
Oh, man. Alright, Carius. You definitely seem to have a counter-argument to every point they make. Seems like you're using their own logic against them, and...
I seem to be doing that a lot.
You do. And it's evident that Carius's arguments do seem to sound true, and that there is a definite flaw within theirs, Kushan. It seems that at their best, they are selfless and have strong convictions, and at their worst, they are unoriginal and mindless almost. They see individuality as a weakness, and they clearly are seeking to eliminate that diversity. But that's because they don't. It's because they also abhor exploit, explo- exploitation and inequality, believing that all beings should exist as one on the same level. Anyway, Kishan, if you wanted to add something to it, you could, but for now, it seems there has been much talk, and the sun wanes. We need our rest, as do you.
Well, thank you for at least listening.
They take a bow and graciously begin to disappear into the tree lines. And when I say disappear into it, I don't mean through it. I mean like literally inside. They seem to become one with the actual trees itself, merging and becoming the bark or the branches or the leaves. Some even sink into the fertile soil and moss. And they're going, you see there maybe like buds or flowers retracting on them as the sun wanes. And yeah, it looks like we are in a night cycle now.
Where did Rip Dip go off to?
Oh, okay. Where did Riptip go? You want to roll his stealth, didn't you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Whilst that's going on, Karish just lets out
He's pretty well hidden.
a loud swearing.
What?
Probably, I'm just going to say ignorant at this point because very few people speak it.
What's his dex, Chris?
His dex is 420.
I mean, he probably has advantage at least because
That's
he
true.
blends in with everything.
That's exactly right. Yeah, he does. So I'll just roll that as I'll roll again for advantage. Okay. Well,
You're
he
ridiculous.
does seem to have scampered off, and although you've got very keen eyes, Llewellyn, he does seem to have blended in to the shadows, into the soil and grass. Not sure exactly where he has gone.
You can't give him a bonus of plus 420 and plus 69.
Oh, what? I can't.
Right.
Last time I checked, I was the DM.
I mean, I'm not gonna follow him, but I'm just gonna be like, yeah, Kishan, your buddy just wandered off
God
You
damn it.
probably saw him wander off Llewellyn, but he went out of sight.
in that direction. but
It's
that's
okay.
about
We have his word that he's not going to cause any trouble. Just let him do his thing.
it. It's
He had
not-
his word. He wouldn't attack anyone.
That's good enough.
it's
Okay.
not-
That's good. I'd say the last you saw of him, Llewellyn, was probably ducking behind this huge temple of sorts, which is heavily guarded outside.
Sure.
You can see that the whole entrance is covered in vines and moss.
Right.
Cool.
Look,
Let him do his thing.
looks like I'm going to have to go for plan B.
Yeah.
You tried your best, Carius, but you made some good points, and I think we aren't going to find our answers with the sigil leaves. We seem to be back at square one with them.
Well,
Do you still plan to unionize?
Nope. I'm thinking of doing something a bit more roguelike.
But
We're
won't
going
that
to the
cause-
temple tonight.
Won't that cause tension?
When
Wow.
the sun goes down, we will head down and we'll enter ourselves.
Do you not like to at least get one side permission? I'm sure if we went back to the Borzoi, the chief would allow us into the temple.
Well, you heard it. You heard it yourself. They have no argument to stand on either side. They are both selfish. They aren't focusing on unity. They are only focusing on their own tribes. We need to find out ourselves about what happens and put it back to how it was.
Yeah.
Once we find out what happened, then we will be able to start moving forward. But we aren't going to do that talking to them.
Yeah, that was going to be one of my other points before they buggered off, was essentially, if we're going to the temple to learn about your past, surely we should do that before we decide whether to join you or not. But
Plus, we don't even know where the temple is without someone to guide us.
I mean, I'm pretty sure it's been pointed out, right?
We've been told a rough area. And I mean, come on, how hard's the Temple of the Sun and Moon going to be from up above?
I imagine it's going to be at quite a high place.
I mean, perhaps one of us could fly up and take a look ourselves.
I mean,
Hint,
Everyone
hint.
stares at Llewellyn.
He has a
Darius
he
just
has a
looks
glare.
at his slave and his familiar who's with him, like,
We all look at your spell slots and how dangerous you can be.
with
One down.
my empty spell slots right now, unless I have a rest.
It's more the high perception that I was thinking, but
Yeah.
Right, Llewellyn, do you want to go up on the glaive? That way you're
Sure.
saving your spell slots. And...
I mean, in terms of what you said about your scroll and them being together, I still think this is going to cause tension. Especially once we went through all that to gain the allies of the Borzoi tribe. But you're the leader, Sean. This is your journey.
okay,
Yeah.
what if we bypass the tribes and try to speak to the gods themselves?
I mean,
Can you do that?
I don't know.
I can try to pray to my god and hope that she can pull in a word, but
You know,
I'm not-
for a friend.
Our phone chain.
I mean, we could pray to Raziel to speak to her father of the sun.
Well, the only way that I can think of it is if I can go to the temple, I can go through their whole ritual or something. I have some tricks up my sleeve just in case they do attempt to unify me to their group, but I'm actually going to see if
so
potentially. But that's the only thing. You either lose me or we potentially piss off both tribes.
I
But
know,
at this point in time, it's one or the other.
Yeah, it is a problem, but
what?
I feel if we force our way into the temple without permission, then it's going to be so much harder to bring the two tribes together because they won't trust us. Neither of them will.
Well, the thing is, the Borzoi weren't going to let us in anyway. Literally the only way I could think of for arguing it for it was like, Borzoi leaf to Jackrap. The sigil leaves are going to the temple. They're going to be performing some rituals. Can we go in as a representative view to make sure that they're not getting up to any shit? That's literally the only argument we've got with them, because they were like, yeah, you're honoring members, but you're not actually us. Also, who bets that Rip Dip has gone to go gather his tribe to try to stop them going to the temple? I'm putting 5 gold on it. Anyone takers?
We could beat him there.
I mean, yeah.
If that is the case.
What if, and this is an idea, right? So, Kashan, your whole sneaking in plan, I kind of like the idea because sitting around and talking is really not my thing, despite how good I seem to be at it sometimes. I normally leave that to my sisters. What if we sneak in, try to get the information so that we have a greater understanding? Doesn't necessarily need to be all of us. And then afterwards, you pretend to go through the ritual. We wait outside the temple and if anything starts to go wrong, like they try to start forcing you too much, then we can get you out of there. I mean, between me and everyone else, I'm pretty sure we could get you out of there and get everyone out of there if necessary.
I
That
mean,
would be fine.
I could doorway in and out, but I'd only be able to take Kashan.
Yeah, so
You can make people invisible.
Say.
That could work.
Because I don't need to be able to see it to be able to get in.
yeah, my only worry is that because they're all one with the trees and stuff, if we leave, they're gonna know, and I wouldn't put it past them to be watching us. And if one of us just disappears, they're gonna wonder why.
I mean, haven't they been watching us almost since we got onto these islands?
I don't know if they were watching us. We saw at least one of them before, but I don't know if they've been watching us the entire time.
Probably, I would not put it past them.
Not at all.
They're
So
the kind of creeps that would watch you in your sleep.
don't say
Yeah.
that. Kashan's fur kind of ruffles. So, going
I don't-
through the ritual then?
It's completely up to you. But if you're doing that to get the sigil leaves permission, then we should have a couple of us go and get the chief Bozo tribe's permission.
The thing
So
is that I'm trying to do it to gain favor, not lose control of my own senses.
Yeah, so if you've got some sort of control over that when that happens, then that's good.
Once again, I have something up my sleeve, but whether it's for this kind of thing they're trying to perform, I don't know unless I try. This is a big risk.
It is.
Technically, I mean, if we can send Taklo with you, maybe hidden under your robes, if anything starts to go wrong, he can walk you out.
I have an idea.
Little light bulb moment there.
Does anybody have any kind of ailment that they can cast on me that lasts for a long period of time?
An ailment.
What sort of ailment are you thinking?
I don't know, something that makes me deaf, something that confuses me, something that slows me down.
I can make you look dead.
No, that's definitely not what I want.
That's an ailment.
An
Death.
ailment that still allows me to move and get out of there if I need be.
I mean, I could charm you, but that's about it.
That would actually work. Okay. How long does charm last for though?
Not charm, it's hypnotic pattern. So I'm just reading it up.
I
So
think-
I don't know if
I mean,
it's if you leave the area of it, it breaks or anything. So
I think Chris knows where I'm going with this.
I mean,
I can charm you for an hour.
Exactly where you're going for this.
An hour.
I could charm you as well.
I mean, if you can all get line of sight on me or anything, any kind of negative effect.
either that or I can make you keep dancing.
Get-
I have his.
But that's dangerous.
Yeah, that
Oh, no.
still
I
takes
don't know
away.
that. I don't know that. Shh.
But I don't want anything that's going to take away my movement or stop me entirely. I just need
Yeah,
something
that
that's minor inconveniences.
Hypnotic pattern would mean that you haven't no movement, so that wouldn't work.
If we gave it till morning, I could literally use charm person.
I can do charm person once a day just as
I
a
have
fun
charm.
thing for being who I am.
The three of you have charm person.
I've just
How-
realised that.
How long does it last? Just an hour?
An hour, yeah.
And that's me. I can remove curse.
If
And also,
it's-
you do know
I
So-
have protection from good and evil.
that the ritual
That's
is
a good-
taking place in the morning as well.
Yeah.
To be fair, I could use suggestion, which is a means of charm, which is up to 8 hours. I'd have to be concentrated.
Does that class as a charm, Chris? Suggestion?
Suggestion is a charm effect.
Ah, beautiful.
Let's just
Sweet.
check. I don't think it's a continuous.
I think I should.
It is up to 8 hours.
Yeah, but you're not charmed. You are under the effects. I mean, it says if you're immune to charm, you're immune to it. But it doesn't
Yeah.
say that you are charmed for the duration, does it? Just says you do the suggested course, but you're not actually charmed.
Fine, familiar man.
I could suggest the course is he goes about his day for the next 8 hours until I say otherwise.
I should probably explain to you all my plan. And he pulls out little Egbert. He is going to be the one who is going to be taking any negative effects. So if you hit me with any kind of spell and they try to take over my mind or anything like that, Egbert will protect me. I'll take that silence as agreement.
My brain said, you're going to put an infant in danger, but
You see,
Yeah.
that's out of character, so.
yeah. What has happened?
Would Bane count as a negative status? Like in for Egbert?
No, we're talking about conditions here.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Charmed is a condition, I assume.
Charmed is a condition, but suggestion doesn't say they are charmed for the duration. Whereas charmed person does.
This is just 'cause
So it says the wording is different.
Actually,
It is charmed by you until the spell ends. Whereas suggestion says it doesn't say anything about the charmed condition. It just says if they're immune to charm, they aren't affected by it.
Right, yeah.
and we can't poison you because you're immune to poison.
If Andy can do that, I'd say Andy does that to you, and me and Carius go get the permission of the Borzor chief. And then after you've done with the ritual, you've got permission of both by then.
Sounds good.
And then you're still complying with them, you're still, ahead with your scrolls and your whole following Ladovu to the T.
But if the ritual's to take place in the morning, we all have to now, because even going at my max speed, I have a feeling it's going to take us at least 6 hours to get back.
That's very well. We can say that you return to the ship.
Yeah.
And I guess, Llewellyn, you'll just have to be tied on and try to get some rest on the way there, because...
Yeah. I could really do with spell slots back. So I'll just tie myself to you and fall asleep like on a car ride.
Yeah.
On a cart ride, sorry.
So we'll set up camp and...
Okay, this is going to be a very theoretical question, Chris. If Taklo controls the broom and both me and Llewellyn tie ourselves... Oh no, because I need control winds for this, don't I?
To get there faster, yeah. But
How long will it take us if I don't use control winds? It's about 8 hours, right?
yeah, a lot longer. Yeah.
Right, so I'm getting no rest tonight. Let's go.
Oh my god.
I mean, you could get rest on the way back.
Quick question. What is the goal you're trying to achieve by going to the Borzo tribe?
Essentially, from our perspective, if we can't get permissions from the sigil leaves to enter the temple, then it will go to the Borzo. And also, in a way, for Llewellyn's perspective and Kashant, Kashan would probably want permissions from both to enter. So if he's getting the sigil leaves permissions to enter to become one, then if we can also get permissions from the Borzo, then he's sort of using both tribes' wills, I suppose.
I understand. Okay. And who are you sending? You're sending Llewellyn, of all people?
Me and Llewellyn.
Because you need Llewellyn to translate.
Yeah, I literally just need him for one spell.
Plus, I have a little bit of business with the bozo anyway.
Yeah.
No,
Alright,
don't kill them.
I'm not gonna kill them.
Okay, that means Irina, Andy, are you happy to stay with Kishan?
Yeah, I need to take a moment to speak to Candlewick because I have an idea, but I need to
Okay.
gauge whether or not it will work first.
I would imagine
Alright.
that Andy's just kind of like only half hearing everything. She is technically still poisoned.
Oh god.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
wow.
Which is why we wanted the long rest.
Yeah, you're
Oh,
supposed to
wow.
bring that up. Okay.
So
That's
you can
fine.
nap, it's fine, we'll wake you up.
I would say
She's out.
I did mention that they would have helped you. So
Yeah, she still failed.
yeah, I know. Yeah. But I'll say that Andy, before everyone does head to bed and the sigil leaf are nested away in their trees, that they would have offered you a remedy, a healing salve to cleanse any poisons.
Yeah, she doesn't really trust these guys.
You're good. You're good.
Retreat people.
I'll kind of like take it from them and say like, do you mind if I
You can roll
test
an
it?
insight check, Andy, if you wish.
Hmm?
You can check it.
You can also roll an insight if you wish, because I know you're a little bit untrustworthy of them. But you would have seen them. Okay, so you would have seen them preparing it, crushing up these leaves, natural herbs, and mixing it together. And all the while, they don't seem to be casting any magic or adding any nefarious ingredients to it. And they offer it to you freely, not without.
Okay.
They don't
then
seem to
she'll-
have
Yeah,
an
yeah.
agenda.
Yeah.
Okay.
You drink.
Or, well, yeah.
Okay. All right. You are under the effects of a lesser restoration spell, and so you feel the natural remedies and healing medicine take place in your body. And over the next 20 minutes or so, you feel a lot better. The pain is relieved. Your muscles begin to fix themselves, I guess. You're no longer seizing up. Seems they may have added some anti-venom of some description.
And now she just wants to nap even more.
Yeah,
Nap time.
relax. All right. And then, Kishan, did you say something? You wanted to do something?
Yeah. So before we bunk down, I just want to place a hand on Egbert and just try and connect, and I just want to kind of like whisper under my breath, "Are you okay with this plan? I don't want to put you into any kind of unintentional danger." But,
Okay.
yeah.
Obviously, not being able to speak or really communicate in any way, all you feel is the sort of that sort of heartbeat, and with each pulse, you sense a protective aura, ready and willing to stop any kind of unwanted effects. And it's just the same as it always has.
Mhm.
It's not like you are forcing this to take your troubles away. It is there, ready to snatch them from you, to stop them from reaching you.
Okay, if it can't understand me in common, I shall try in its own tongue. Squaw! Squaw!
Yeah.
Squaw!
It's like there is no squawking from inside the egg, but the only thing you take note of is Egbert has a tiny few cracks over it. That's been there ever since you were both grappled and restrained.
Yeah.
That's the only thing your notice kind of drifts across. It seems like Egbert is working as intended. Okay. Let's go over to Irina and tell me how you are communing with Candlewick.
So I'm gonna find myself a sort of. Actually, do you know what? I'm not really gonna find myself a corner. I'm just gonna sit with Kashan and Andy sort of nearby. I'll summon the sword properly and sort of stick it into the ground.
Okay.
And I'll let Candlewick just sort of do his thing.
Just floops.
Like he's like a shadowy figure basically. He can just sort of come out of the scabbard and.
Yeah, there is a shadow, but it doesn't seem to form into anything
It's
tangible.
just like a smoky thing.
That's right, yeah. It's just kind of a smoky protrusion, but it doesn't really take a form.
Mm.
You do start to feel the warmth of Candlewick sort of emanating, almost like you're sitting around a campfire.
Okay.
And you do almost even hear the crackling of fire. Just you, though, Irina.
So, how much of that did you hear and understand? Like, go big for all of it and go small for
Yeah,
none of
I'm
it.
about to say there is a sudden roar, as if someone just chucked a large
All right, you heard it
dry
all.
log
Okay.
on the fire.
All right. And what are your thoughts on the whole becoming one ritual? Is that a good idea? Bad idea? Because
There's a hesitation before it feels like a small rush of heat seems to rush up your forearm and across your upper arm, and then across down your collarbone. It feels like someone's running like an extinguished match all the way across it, and it reaches up to about the midpoint between your neck and the other half of your body, but it seems to stop there. And it just seems to stop about at your throat. And for a moment, it feels like the air in your lungs is taken away from you, like it's burnt up or stolen. Um, not as in a malicious way, but perhaps as more as a demonstration. And then suddenly that feeling goes away, and your lungs are back to feeling like they've had air filled with them.
okay, so potentially he thinks it's a bad idea then.
Roll me an insight check to see what exactly did that mean.
Okay, it didn't feel as sort of like affirmative as like the situation when I asked him about going into the capital.
It wasn't affirmative or negative, but we'll say that it definitely felt unpleasant. Roll me an insight
My
check.
brain was kind of like he's almost curious, but he's kind of like.
Natural 20. Okay. What he's telling you is the match only going up one side of your body, meaning that it's only half of one whole. Perhaps he's referring to this tribe is one half of a whole to begin with. Perhaps he's also signifying that if you go through with this ritual, you will lose half yourself. He's definitely when your breath was taken away, he was telling you that your voice would be taken away, not maybe literally, but he's talking about individuality will be burnt and extinguished. You will not have a voice because you will be joining the voice.
Okay, now here was my thought. If this did happen, and the whole join the collective thing, you've probably never tried it either, so this isn't gonna be a yes or no answer, but the soul fuse, could that be a way to break myself away if you used it on me? Could that break the bond?
You feel a rush of heat across your face, and it's almost like you just got pushed too close to a fire, and you know how you feel the dryness in your eyes when you get that close to a fire. It's basically burning away all the moisture. Feels like that. Your eyes suddenly get almost burnt away, and in doing so, you sort of get a vision, and the vision is of a burning bridge, and yeah, it's only a quick flash, but you know the counterweight doesn't normally deal with visions, but it's just a quick blink.
So is that severing the bridge to them or the bridge to me? Or the bridge
With,
to you?
with that insight check, I'll say that it seems like it could be both. A bridge a bridge represents a bond, and he was obviously talking about burning bridges. Perhaps he's talking about burning your bridge to it, but he's also equally saying that he can turn around and burn it back. No worries, is what he's trying to sell you. If that was to happen, then he's definitely
Okay.
able to burn something. And
Um,
I'll also say that there's a rush of heat that seems to go everywhere and erratic. It feels like an uncontrollable heat that just goes everywhere, all over your fingertips and over every single limb. Almost represent, and I'll say again from your inside check, it feels like every fingertip is like a tree or a log, and you can feel the heat jumping from one finger to another, representing that of a wildfire.
okay.
That if he so chose it, this tribe could easily be extinguished. He is fire. He is their biggest weakness.
Okay. Well, let's not do that unless it becomes necessary. Um, but I will, like, obviously, if things do go wrong, and I, for whatever reason, turn into a brainless tree person, you can have my body, and you can go do your adventure thing. Like, you know, we made a deal, and if I die, you can't really. That's not really holding up my end of the bargain. So, if things do go wrong, try first, and if it goes wrong, then you can have my body. But maybe try letting me go first.
You see that shadowy protrusion start to pull towards you as you're having this statement, as you're giving him permission, and the smoke seems to slowly drift towards your nostrils and your mouth. And as you're taking in each intake of breath to say this, smoke is kind of going into you. And after you finish that sentence, the smoke fully enters your body.
Not yet.
You don't. Not yet. I imagine you're definitely saying that. However, the smoke doesn't feel like it's taking control. It feels like it's finding a place deep within you to hide away.
Okay.
And for the first time, uh, that heat that you normally call upon in your scabbard is seemingly gone cold,
Okay.
and that smoke is all but gone. It's no longer there. The communion is over. It seems.
All right. Okay.
You
I thought
pick up your scabbard, I'm guessing.
Yeah. She'll put that back around her waist.
Yeah, it's just gone deathly cold.
Okay. It was a big risk, but I'm gonna just slap Kashan on the back. I'm with you all the way.
Wait, you're coming in with me?
I have a backup plan.
Oh, okay. I wasn't expecting that. if I'm honest, I was expecting to go in alone.
Well, what can I say? I'm nosy.
I mean, to be honest, if we do end up getting taken over, then at least we'll still be able to have somebody we know within the crowd. So that's a
Don't
good
worry.
plus
As
side.
I said, I've got a potential backup plan, so we'll see what happens. But I didn't really. Stuff like this, you really shouldn't go into on your own. It's a little bit unnerving.
Of course. Well, in that case, Andy,
Is sleeping.
oh yeah.
She doesn't know what you guys are chatting about. She's fast asleep.
So I'll look over to Andy and then back to Irina and say, "Do you think she will be okay?"
I mean, from what I've seen so far, she can do a lot of stuff that affects the mind. So she may potentially be a really good person to have on the outside just in case things do go wrong. She's also very sneaky, so she could probably follow us.
Of course. I just wouldn't want any harm to come to her if she didn't join us inside.
Well, from what her auntie has told me over the years, that's not going to be a problem.
That's good to hear.
She can hold her own.
Good. I'm glad.
She's not as small as she looks. I know that's
Well,
a
I mean, she
contradiction,
is.
but what I mean is she's not as feeble as she looks. Like, she looks young, so she looks a little bit.
You're calling me
less-
feeble.
I can't win. I
Nope.
know what I meant.
Aye.
Are you mocking my accent? Yeah.
No.
Racist.
He's like, that's what I was going to say.
Works both ways now, you know.
I know, it's a bit of a strange one to be on the receiving end of that, not going to lie. But anyway.
So, if things do go badly, Candlewick is gonna try.
We still need to discuss about Candlewick.
What do you want to know?
Where he kind of like taps his bag and you hear like a metallic clink from the frozen flames encasement.
Just gonna shuffle back a little bit. I don't know why it did that. I don't really want to be near it. I won't lie, that scared me.
Yes, I would like to figure out what exactly Candlewick's bond is with my monastery.
Yeah,
I mean, whether it was just Candlewick sees a flame and is like, "Oh, hot mama," and you know.
No, Candlewick, okay, so when I was in the library, I was maybe 14, 15, and I stumbled into a part of the library that was off limits, where they keep a lot of artifacts that they don't know what they do, what they're called, where they were originally from, and Candlewick has been in a glass case for what looks like a long time. And he wanted to get out and see the world. I mean, no one wants to stay stuck in a cage. And I wanted to travel and be an artifact hunter. That's what I've always wanted. Unfortunately, I'd failed the exam like 3 times, so that wasn't going very well.
Maybe that exam is the difference between an artifact hunter and a hoarder.
Mm-hmm. But he called to me, and he showed me the sigils needed to open the case. The case opened, and we made a deal. However, in doing so, I accidentally burnt down that section of the library.
Right. A deal?
Like, you know, he would help me pass my exams, and I would take him traveling with me when I passed my exam.
Hmm.
He wants to see the world, and so do I. So, I can protect myself, and he gets to see new things.
I use divine sense. Wrong campaign. Ignore me.
And then I was detained, and they took Candlewick away because they didn't know what he was. He was an empty scabbard, and he burned down half of a magical library.
Right.
And then I was interrogated, I was questioned, blah, 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 blah. But all through it, when Candlewick was away from me, I felt cold. Like something was missing from inside me. And that scared me more than making the bargain. And when whatever happened with your weird lantern thing, I
Frozen
felt it
flame.
again.
The whole
I
thing
felt
that my
it
monastery
again.
stands.
He was literally taken away from me. And I felt like part of my soul was gone.
Right.
And that scared me. And I didn't know if he was coming back, or if that had killed him, or...
Well, if I'm honest, I've never really felt any sentience within the frozen flame. It's a relic in itself, but I wouldn't have thought that it would be taking Candlewick away. I mean, perhaps there's a way to identify that. If only our wizard didn't fly halfway across the map, we might be able to actually find this out.
I mean, that was your idea, but that's not the point I'm trying to make. The thing is that I'm happy to help you figure it out, but I don't want to touch it.
That's perfectly understandable. I've never seen a response in it before. In fact, Chris, like, when Candlewick was getting close to the frozen flame actually moved in it, like it was flickering.
No.
It wasn't. It was just standing still.
Yeah, completely
Remained
still.
Okay.
It was the smoke of Candlewick that froze when it was like released, right?
I don't know
You
why.
fired the Eldritch Blast, and the smoke got paralyzed in the air. Almost as if a substance of air just became solid.
I don't know why I haven't really had Llewellyn attempt to identify the flame before. It might be best to question when he gets back. You never know, it might suck the life out of him.
That's not a good thing either, actually. No, that's not a good thing either.
I'm sure Llewellyn has a way to defend himself from something like that. But if we just ask him to identify, I'm sure no harm can come from it.
Worst comes to worst, once the capital is sorted, you could always ask his dad.
That's also a good idea.
But then he didn't know what Candlewick was, so...
So probably best not. In fact, that probably gives me less faith in Llewellyn.
It's alright, no one knew what Candlewick did. He'd been quiet for so long. But it might be worth finding another librarian to ask. I mean, if Malone was here, we could ask her, but she's not, so we can't.
It's perfectly fine. I'm sure I'm sure I'll be able to find some answers once I get my scrolls back.
It's my job, I can help, but I don't want to touch it.
No, of course. And I don't want to put yourself or Candlewick in any kind of danger, so don't worry. I'll leave it to the bell. No, that's fine.
Yeah. It's nothing personal. It just scared me, that's all.
Of course. we should probably get some rest for tomorrow. Andy's getting a head start.
She is.
She's
Alright.
kicking. I wonder what she's dreaming about.
Oh.
She's dancing in her sleep.
Alright. For those who are sleeping within the burrows of the sigil leaf, you gain the benefits of a long rest. And those who are flying across the continent, Carius, Lavellan, you didn't know.
I was planning to tie Llewellyn to the back of me so he can try to sleep whilst we're travelling.
I've pretty much got my arms around Carius and I'm just sleeping on the back.
He's going to be slipping off continuously.
That's
Oh,
why I'm
that's
slow down.
tied to him. That's why I'm
Gonna slow
tied to him,
down travel.
tied to him by rope.
Alright. I'll tell you what. Give me a dex check to see how well you tied yourself.
Oh
Tie
no.
the villain.
Would this be a survival check because it's tying knots?
Oh yeah, sure. Survival.
And I will assist.
You can
because
add, instead of adding wisdom, add dex. So it's a dex-based survival check.
Okay, so it's +5 instead of 7.
Yeah. Something we don't usually do, but there you go.
And
Because
Carius
use
aiding,
rope used to be dex-based, but
Carius is aiding me because I am tying myself to him.
he can't help you unless he's the one tying the knot in front.
Fine.
I
okay.
could hold my finger in the right place for him to tie the knot.
14.
14.
That's pretty decent.
Alright. I'll say because Karis, you could. Yes, you're holding your finger on the knot. Have you got surviving, by the way, Karis?
Yes, I'm a weather worker.
You can do that. You realize what knot he's trying to do, and you remember that this place is quite humid, and you're going to need a knot that doesn't just come undone when it's wet.
Yep.
So you can roll with advantage, Llewellyn.
So just roll again.
It's 14.
Okay, so 14 it is.
Okay, 14. Cool. All right. Let's hope a strong wind doesn't buffet you. Of course, you'll be controlling that. Okay. Well, in that case, let's hope that the knot holds.
Now, I have one quick question with the whole wind thing, because technically you said I needed basically a wind going in the same direction for speed. Do I need that from the control winds, or can I literally use my storm guide ability to just make the wind fly in the right direction?
I'm going to say that you actually need to expend one spell slot of control winds
Okay.
if you want to go for speed.
Yep.
The fact that you are able to do the other thing just enables you to be able to fly in a straight line without having to worry too much about being battered off. That's what almost enabled you to fly on the glaive to begin with, like standing up on it, doing all those crazy stunts. Okay.
Yeah.
I hope not. Yes, well played, Cameron.
I was going to hope to speak to Ripdip to confirm if his people are nocturnal or not, because since they work at the moon, I thought it might be possible, but he buggered off.
You've already sort of confirmed that already, I think. 'Cause
Yeah.
last time he did say that. He was rubbing his eyes from being up in the sun all day. And you noticed when he was walking across the scorched ground as well, he was the only one really having trouble. Looked like he was getting burnt whenever he touched the stone. He's like, alright. Okay, so you guys fly and soar over the jungles, over the waterfalls, draping across the jungles, and I'll say there are a few moments when you can roll a perception check. As Llewellyn is trying to get a long rest, you can just roll straight. Oh, good.
Thankfully, you only need 4 hours to rest.
Oh, no way, he doesn't.
He thinks he does, but you find that he's probably going to be so exhausted he oversleeps that. Okay. Um, here we go. Okay, so rather than take in anything useful, you are just simply in a wanderlust as you see the floating islands seemingly clanging together again, like almost gigantic rocky wind chime. You see these rope bridges sort of almost interconnecting them, forming little bridges of sorts, natural bridges. And you see the waterfalls going from one onto another, and it seems to create this kind of beautiful water fountain or water feature effect floating in the air. And then those waterfalls land onto even bigger land masses, and it just continues to chain together in this uh, most beautiful interconnected image of nature. And yeah, I think you're just completely distracted by the wanderlust of the setting sun as it peaks just behind the islands. All right. So, it's going to be a long journey. You know that. 8 hours. I'm going to say you can roll me a Constitution saving throw.
Fortunately, I get advantage on those. Wait, actually, let me check. No, that's just on poison checks and things. So, yeah, decent.
All right. You've been used to long flights before. Uh, you've stayed up all night performing stunts and perfecting a new maneuver. This is no real issue. The only uncomfort is the snoring from Llewellyn just behind your ear. Other than that, though, you're able to push on throughout the night without suffering any exhaustion. You do not recover, though. You don't get any long benefits of a long rest.
Yep.
Okay. Um, mm, occasionally, you feel Llewellyn slipping, um, but you do grab a hold of him before he probably falls off. That knot seems to have come slightly loose as well. Probably he's also kicking to sleep. But you don't want him to roll off on the wrong side of bed.
No.
Give me a survival check
Oh, God.
to
Yeah.
retie the knot.
Ooh.
Okay, that's a lot better. Ooh.
And in fact, if it's dex based, then it's technically one more than that.
No snug, no web, no. Oh.
Nice.
No web.
No Blinsky.
I'm actually
No.
wondering.
Because he would heal us with his web, and it was gross.
That's true. He'd like to coon you up. He'd make you little hammocks.
From my perspective, do I think that the knot should be made more secure or less secure if I froze it together?
More secure. So long as it doesn't take an impact, then it will
Okay.
be more secure. If it does take an impact, it will become brittle and just break.
Okay, so because there's the natural dampness of it, I'm just going to use shape water essentially to just freeze that. Because I can.
Well, then you get a dreamy sensation of being hit by a cone of cold by one of the night hags in the hut.
Die.
He's having some sort of night terror.
I've never flown and slept at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't even know if you are able to. But screw it.
You probably
Alright.
couldn't a carpet of flying easily in.
Yeah.
On a glaive, it's a bit tricky.
Yeah.
It's like sleeping on the back of a motorbike.
Yeah, I'm sure after a long extended period of time you could. I'll say that during at one point, the ride is very blissful as during the control winds, you're able to maintain perfect speed and altitude. Also, this is not a survival check for the tightening of the rope, but I will need you to figure out where you're going, and that will be a survival check again.
God. Yeah.
And you don't have dark vision, do you?
I do, I'm a tiefling.
Okay, cool. In that case, just roll it straight. 15.
terrible.
Okay, it's not bad. You do start to navigate your way back, and you're trying to picture which of these floating islands had the Borzo tribe situated on it. Trying to remember patterns that you saw once you did that
Should
scouting.
have given you the map.
Well, that would have been useful.
Whoops.
But for now, you're just simply going by eye. And I will say that it's harder to navigate, one, during the dark, and two, because it seems like a couple of these islands have floated out of position, and you're not 100% sure you're going the right way, but you've got like an inkling, and you're flying straight as well, so you're hoping that at the very least.
And from my whole travels on the sea and such, I'm probably at least used to navigating by the stars.
Right. True. And you're above clouds, which makes the image of the stars incredibly clear, like crystal clear. In fact, something you take note of as you're flying through here is how amazing it would be for stargazers to set up some sort of telescope here and have a perfect view of all the constellations. All right. And as you're traveling, and as others are sleeping, I think there is a fitting place to go for a quick, short rest ourselves. So we'll be
Yep.
back in about 5 to 10 minutes, but don't go anywhere. We'll see what tomorrow brings. See you in a bit.
Yeah.
All right, and we're back.
Yeah.
All right, the party have had a long rest, all except Carius, who's been flying the glaive of it's basically a broom of flying, but a glaive all the way to the other side of the island. And we're going to start with them first, as it's a little bit more. They're probably still awake during this time, and Llewellyn, you're just sort of coming to. And as you lean back, stretching, probably feel the wind in your hair and your arms, and you try to move actually, and your arms are probably still stuck. But as you feel Llewellyn leaning back, you feel the rope loosening, and Llewellyn, you begin. You know what? Roll me a dexterity saving throw.
Oh God, he's gonna fall.
I do not fall, I glide. Dexterity saving. Oh, I'm so good at that.
Okay.
I'm actually alright at that.
And it's not too bad. You see him like leaning back, and he's like, yeah. He looks like he's about to roll out of bed and fall out of bed, but instead he's falling to, well, quite a few distance below. The Valen, as your eyes kind of come to in the biliariness, you look down and you realize there are not your usual sights when you wake up, but just this long drop into a rocky peninsula. And you quickly catch yourself on Carrius, grabbing a hold of his horns, or his single good horn, probably. And you steady yourself. You nearly slip. And Carrius, you're like, "Ugh, holding on."
Sorry. Oh, I'm not used to this. You know,
Yeah,
I had
well-
those dreams about you falling. I just woke up into that. Ugh.
I don't know. I've never. Normally, those dreams are some of the best for me, but that's me.
Oh, how close are we?
Fairly close, I think. We've been going, what, 8 hours? Something like that.
Yeah, you have. Full 8 hours have passed. And you feel like you've definitely made a great amount of progress. You don't even see the, what was it called? The Divine Shelf, or the Skywrite Shelf.
Yep.
And Llewellyn, you're looking around trying to recognize anything. Both of you can make me perception checks.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my god, twice.
Darius, you are this time instead of awe, it's probably just fatigue, and your eyes are like kind of watering up, probably actually drying up more like, because you've been in the atmosphere, you've been in the wind for so long now. That your eyes are probably dried up, and you keep rubbing them to try and maintain the correct path.
God, I feel like I've been in the desert.
Yeah. Whereas Llewellyn, much keener eyes, as you've got a fresh set, and as you're looking around, trying to figure out where the heck you are. What kind of landmark would you be looking for to gain your bearings?
I would probably be looking for an island of a similar shape, possibly with a giant tree clung to it.
Right, on the underside, you mean, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. You don't see any giant tree folk, but you do see a similar shaped island. And it does look like the one that you first scouted out. I think it was you who did the scouting, right?
Yeah, it was.
So this is familiar territory, as you were the one who last went up into the air and started mapping it out in your mind. And yeah, you start to see a familiar looking island in the distance.
That away.
Right,
Point in
okay.
the direction.
Okay.
I just sort of wearily just turn it, and I'm just like, oh God, I've still got to talk to these people.
You realize that you were actually perhaps fairly on target. I'll say that you were perhaps about 5 degrees off, though, which in nautical terms can be catastrophic, yes. But thankfully, in the air, much easier because you can make a descent and adjust your course at the same time. And yeah, you begin descending into the canopies, into the jungles, Branches whip past your faces as Carius nimbly avoids each one of them. You pass through a waterfall. I swear you two are on some sort of romantic carpet ride right now.
I could show you the
Damn it! You
world.
beat me to it. I didn't unmute my mic in time.
I don't feel like it's
Personally, I'm picturing the How to Train Your Dragons.
Yes.
Shining, shimmering, terrible.
Yeah, you probably get your arms out, and then you flood through a waterfall, and then suddenly a vine wraps around your neck, and strangles you.
God, no.
You turn around, Carrie's like, "Develop, develop."
Well, I lost the wizard.
You see me hanging there, just like,
Yeah. Suddenly, a swarm of monkeys comes over and starts stealing everything.
no.
You fend them off with a blast of wind. They're like, whoa, whoa, whoa! They flee away. You get back on the glaive and you descend down and into the murkier, shaded areas of the jungle. However, it has taken a full day and the sun is now risen, and you're looking for signs of the Borzo tribe. Perhaps trying to hear for them, but the only things you pick up on are the nearby buzzing.
Oh god.
I mean, we could, with our flyover, we could look for that similar sort of lake that we went from to the Bozo tribe, where the fish was, and then work our way back there.
Yeah, that's true. You definitely spotted the lake before.
And there were huts and things, so we're probably
Yeah,
looking at huts from the sky.
okay.
So we just work our way there. I have with the Wanderer feet, I can geographically find.
Gotcha. The Wanderer feet. Okay, you quickly avoid or flee from the buzzing. You do see a couple of hornets perhaps track you for about a quarter of a mile before they lose interest, and you finally make it to the lake. And yeah, do you guys land and start tracking from there? Yeah, with the Wanderer feet.
Yeah.
Okay, that
Yes.
makes perfect sense. All right. Which one was it? Oh god, no.
Oh god,
Oh,
look
wow.
away, look away, look away.
No, this one. No.
That was a lot of writing.
That was a lot of writing.
Yeah, well, ignore that one, guys. Oh, good. Oh, well, I can't find the artwork, but you know, its familiar huts in the distance
Yeah.
of the Borzo tribe are apparent to you. However, doesn't seem to be much noise or commotion going on.
Just switch to
Seems like it's
that.
fairly quiet.
If Riptip managed to beat us back here and want his tribe and they've gone to war, I'm gonna find him and I'm gonna
How?
skin him.
How would he be able to make it back here in time before us?
I don't know. Maybe he can travel by moonlight, I don't know.
That would be insane. Like, we just taught him how to bond with magical items. How would he be able to teleport?
Well, maybe he's just really at one with the moon, or he knows some shortcuts and we've just like flown 4 times the length of the island because it all looks the same.
I learned how to plane shift.
God, no.
Damn it, Riptip!
So, can I, once we get into it, can I attempt to message the leader?
You're pointing in a direction to sort of gain a.
Yeah, towards the main hut. But
Okay.
ideally, it doesn't really need to go in a straight line anyway.
No, it doesn't. Okay. All right. So, worrying, perhaps, have they already gone ahead? Have they already taken over the temple before the sigil leaf get to it? And you point into a direction, cast message, saying, asking if they're there or hello,
Yeah.
and the reply you suddenly get is,
Oh, they're sleeping.
Oh, they are nocturnal. We didn't get here quick enough.
Oh no.
We're gonna have to wake him up.
we should attempt to make our way to the main hut.
Wait. I'm just gonna ask this because I swear I probably asked this. Do you have the ability to go into dreams? I know some wizards can.
Into dreams, you say? Well, no. Because I haven't been able to learn that yet.
Yeah, I had a feeling that was the case.
I need more ink, but then I will have means of doing it.
Right.
Damn it.
Let's I
Twice
guess
that's come up.
I guess go wake him up.
Yeah.
Oh no.
So we find the main hut.
Okay, sure.
I'm
Yeah,
just
yeah.
gonna knock loudly on the door.
There's a larger hut than the others. You knock loudly, and you hear a.
No. Before we knock, I would have done the ritual.
But
10-minute
they can't be
ritual.
willing if they're asleep, can they?
No, not really.
So now
All right.
exactly-
Suddenly, you see the door kicks open. Like it doesn't open like a normal door on hinges, and nor does it slide open. It's just literally a piece of wood that's just been rested against it, and then just falls down like a trapdoor. As it slams down, you see two armed Borzo tribe with spears rush out, and they run down the ramp towards you and surround you, and they're like, "Shugi, shugi!" They point the spears menacingly.
I wave, and then I'm just gonna try to mimic when they said honorary Borzo, no longer slaves, friend, and then say Rip Dip and their leader's name.
And Jack Rack. Okay.
See if they kind of get the gist. Whilst Llewellyn is probably beginning to perform the spell.
Roll a performance check there, Carius. It's your mimicry, effectively. 15? It's not bad. Shigi so chupa takro. They look at you. It sounds like they asked a question.
Can I roll something to see if I understand what they're asking?
Roll an insight check. No. You have no
No. Instantly, no.
I just sort of go. I try to be like really slow and emphatic, and maybe I'm actually going to try to use shape water to kind of pictograph my message. And I'm basically going, need to speak chief about Siggy leaves.
As soon as they hear the sound of Siggy leaves,
No.
they get infuriated, frustrated. Like, go put that Siggy leaves.
I while I'm doing my ritual, I also go Siggy leaves and spit on the floor.
Spit as well. Okay.
I join in. In fact, I spit and use shape water to just make it hit the ground even harder. Show my contempt.
Okay. They both kind of like. They seem to approve. And they say, Tibi Po, Fnun, and they kind of gesture like, come on, following.
Yeah, I will follow them.
And you hear a familiar phrase, come on, come on. And
That
yeah,
was the one that meant good, right?
it means gather or follow.
Yeah.
Yep, I'll follow.
All right.
Jack
Then-
Rack would know I have to do this ritual.
Yeah.
The guards are quite dumb.
You see a large bed of palm fronds and I guess dried mud, and on top, kind of like laying down like a starfish, but a very bulbous, fat starfish, is Chief Jackrack, and can't even see his head. You just see the underside of his belly from where he's laying down, and one of the little guards whacks his staff on the ground against like the wooden floorboards, like "Gunk, gunk." Shugi, Jackrack. He turns to you, turns back. You just see a single hand come up and like scratch the belly, and then goes back down and goes, "More Zigri." It kind of leans forward. The other two guards look at each other, and then one of them rolls their eyes and then jabs the actual tip of the spear into the butt of Jackrack, and you suddenly hear as the chief gets up and is like looking around, bares his claws and probably strikes nearby, clawing up some of the floorboards. The other guard just dives for cover. Looks around. Toto! Vu! And then looks at you and recognizes you both. And at this point, you probably complete the ritual.
Whew.
Uh,
Oh god.
It's you!
Yeah.
You're back!
Sorry to wake you up, but kind of time is kind of critical here. We've come from with news of the Siggy leaves.
Second leave. Tries
Yeah.
to spit, but it's probably too much phlegm from where he's just woken up.
As he
And-
tries to do that, I just shape water to allow him to spit out.
Okay, yeah, a great amount of phlegm comes out of his nostrils and mouth,
From
and then he burps.
from what we know of both your tribes, you both used
Sorry, guys.
to be in harmony with each other and are not. We have spoken to them and they are willing to let us into what they believe is their temple.
Their temple.
To find out what the issue is and figure out a way of bringing you both together again. We have come here to ask for your permission to go into your temple so we can figure out a way of bringing a compromise.
Yes, our temple. Temple of Moon belong to Bozo tribe only.
And as honorary Borzo tribe members, we were hoping to get permission so that we can enter, find out stuff, and also make sure that the Siggy leaves don't get up to anything too bad.
Yes. Siggy leaf must not be allowed in. We must stop. Gather tribe. We will.
Oh no.
This is not going
Well,
well.
we are willing to go in your place if you wish for that.
We are mighty hunters on league with Pritterprap, I think it was.
Yeah, sure.
We helped slay Queen of Buzzies.
Yes.
So
As-
we can stop the
Thingy
Siggy
mama.
with Rip Dip, we can stop the Ziggy leaves and going in, and we can investigate for you, if that is what you wish.
Roll me a persuasion check with advantage, one of you.
Who's got a better advantage?
I've got +8.
Yep. All you.
27.
That'll do.
Bozo tribe trust. New honorary hunter. Stingy mama slayer. Yes. You go. But we ready. In case. In fact. Rip Dip go with. Wait. Where Rip Dip?
Rip Dip stayed with the other honorary members to make sure Ziggy leaves don't do anything to them. He is mighty brave hunter.
Yes, yes, he is. Wait, did he also do the thing?
What thing?
He did head off for a little bit, but we didn't want to ask him because we know he is Mighty Hunter and we has
Yes.
things he needs to do.
Mighty Hunter has secret mission,
Uh-oh.
special task from Chief.
What special task is this?
He smiles, a big grin with these sharp teeth, and we'll cut back to the others.
What have you done?
I still have more I want to say and do.
Well,
I
we'll
hate
have
you
to
so
wait.
much.
Okay.
Oh no.
All right. Morning is blisteringly hot, as you would imagine, up in the highest point of the Stratus Archipelago. The heat still is somewhat stifled by the nearby canopy, but it's almost more like a greenhouse in here. And a couple of you awaken to see hanging from vines or faces protruding through the bark. You see that the sigil leaf are just staring, watching you awaken, and their faces are like just staring, pushed almost uncomfortably close to some of you as you're lying down here.
She literally screams at the top of her lungs.
Oh,
Now you want and
mommy.
As you scream, Kishan, you also see a head suddenly come up next to yours out of the moss, like as almost like a zombie, like bursting through a grave.
Oh god.
And yeah, this one just comes out like
Oh, it didn't load.
it grabs a hold of you, and then looks at you dead in the face as soil comes down to you. Says, "It is time."
Do we get to eat or have any kind of food for the morning? I mean, I'm not sure about you,
Yes.
but
Drink in. And they both they seem to all raise their hands out into the sun.
He's expecting us to photosynthesize.
Ah, yes. You are not one yet.
I just kind of like raise my arms and go,
Once eat.
I'm
That
not
doesn't-
feeling anything.
Word.
Your fleshy body still needs sustenance.
Just,
Well,
oh, God. Sean raises his arms and you just hear his stomach like, oh. It's like, I don't think it's working.
You see that there are a number of these overgrown farms abundant with
Fruit.
vegetables.
got a pack that of course Patience gave around, and that's got rations in it.
Oh yeah.
She
Yeah.
digs around, purposely tries to find some kind of vegetation and bites into that.
All right.
Yeah, I have
Yeah,
some.
those will definitely do you for the morning.
Well, I guess without further ado, I lead on.
Oh no.
Okay.
What's happening?
The sunrise will bring us together. The ritual of unity requires the morning, the dawn. Please follow us.
Of course.
And
I'm gonna really quickly and briefly explain everything to Andy.
Oh
Yeah.
God, yeah.
Wait, here's the short version. We're both going to get brainwashed by these things. Anything goes wrong, it's your job just to get us out.
That is probably the worst plan I have ever heard.
Just remember to charm me before I go in.
And
Okay.
try to follow closely.
Okay.
Do what you can. We have backup plans in place, but you know.
Okay.
And when in doubt... No, that's all I got.
That was very encouraging, thank you.
Okay, let's go.
All right. So, you're being led towards this large domed structure covered in vines and moss, just completely overgrown. Bits of the ceiling have collapsed from where roots, and probably just from age, and you can see there is light beaming and filtering in. The door is this lattice work of roots, and as they approach, you see their hands, where they're usually clasped together, seemingly unravel and push aside, and their arms spread wide, and so do the vines across the door as they recede back, revealing this oak wooden entryway.
It looks like an observatory.
It looks scary, that's what it looks like.
Started and you're being all doom and gloom.
I like to be honest, okay?
All right.
It will be fun, I can assure.
Sure.
And I am doing the thing, I guess I'm just, well,
Yeah, so it'll be like the last moment that you can. You just kind of like, boop.
so...
It's not simply a pop, though, is just so you're aware, casting charm person is a lot of arm flailing and verbal components. It's an obvious spell, is what I'm saying.
She will do it playing her violin, so it makes it look like she's just playing a song. I'm just gonna practice, but in fact she's casting charm person.
I'm going to salute the sun.
I've got to get in my early morning practice.
Okay.
The violin to be squeaky.
Very
Sure.
good.
They don't seem to disrupt this violin playing as you enter into the.
I say the Firebird suite. Love that suite.
All right. The interior, you can see, is even more overgrown than the exterior. Seems like vines have been worked into the staircases, where stone has crumbled. Bark now replaces each step, and you can see that the windows have long since broken and shattered. There's now, instead of glass, these vines and ivy kind of all wrapped up the framework, and it does let in quite a great amount of light. It seems like the spaces in between the windows are free, and as you go up, each kind of like spiraling staircase leads you higher and higher into this place, and eventually you start to see a more central chamber, but to get to which you have to cross this large bridge. This is exactly what you're seeing over here.
Oh wow. Did we leave Andy outside?
No,
or-
Andy's coming with you, I
She's coming,
assume,
okay.
unless you don't want.
Am I?
Where it would have
Well-
been, the charm person would have been cast like just before we got to the place of.
Because Andy's not taking part in the ritual.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
So.
Then this looks like a doorway, which is potentially where they turn and state, "Beyond here, we will complete the ritual of unity.
And
Those
then,
who do not join will not be allowed entry into the Temple of the Sun."
Have fun, guys.
bye, Andy. Bye, best friend.
Bye-bye.
I love you. Stay safe.
Don't do anything I wouldn't do. Which, actually, that's not very good advice.
Yeah, it's okay. I will do
Basically,
anything.
Still everything that's not nailed down.
Now that I could probably do.
I'm charmed, so I take that literally.
Gotcha.
I just give Andy a thumbs up. I'm just like,
She probably didn't even realize what she just said. She was like, wait.
Oh god. Oh god.
Andy,
I didn't even think that through.
Oh
Andy, being your best friend, gives the best advice. And as you look around, you just start picking up some nearby ferns, and you realize, yeah, they're most definitely nailed down because they're intertwined with the roots of a huge branch. So instead, you sort of just pick away some of the leaves and pocket them.
I'm just like.
This is gonna make it interesting.
What have you done?
What have I done? It sounds amazing.
We're good.
One task.
Good.
One task.
I'll just be like kind of scouting around the room just as we're walking.
Yeah, yeah. You climb up the stairs, you pick up a few bits of broken masonry as you go as well.
Cool.
But eventually you reach this, what you didn't think it was a doorway at first, but it seems like a massive archway completely overgrown with this large root and tree. And once again, you see his arms clasped together and then open up, and the door quite literally blooms. The bark creaks and cracks open, revealing an inner sanctum of sorts.
I'm just gonna copy his gesture. I'm practicing
Yep.
to become one.
Cool.
Open sesame.
All right. They enter on in, and the first sight is something of beauty. There are these beautiful blue flowers that seem to be popping up and dotted all around this central chamber. And it looks like a garden at first, but you do start to see several stone staircases that wrap around a central pillar of sorts. But the pillar is large and wide enough that there seems to be some sort of stone structure sat atop it. And you can see many, many pillars supporting this. It looks like some sort of throne, perhaps? It looks so old and overgrown that it's hard to tell whether that was its original function. And there are still a large open window where you can see light filtering in, as well as the crumbled ceiling, and more the morning light is filtering in. But as you've taken in the sights of beauty, you're also keenly aware of something a little bit more disturbing. That is, where this central pillar is located, there seem to be figures, and they're not moving, but nor do they look like statues. They almost look more like rotted corpses that have been frozen.
Sorry, Chris, am I the only one who's
No,
Chris has
his
gone
audio's
weird for?
going weird. Yeah.
It's going tinny.
Yeah.
Tinny,
Yeah.
okay, right. My bad.
I
Is
thought
it
it was
better now?
fixing itself and then it went again.
Is it good now?
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems to be good.
Okay. Cool. So yeah, something more disturbing is there are several figures underneath the pillar, supporting it almost like a depiction of a statue holding up the structure. And though they look like statues, they perhaps more resemble like rotted bodies, like rotted corpses that have been in the ground for a number of days, and moss and maggots have probably, taken their toll on it. But I shall reveal this to you right here.
We see you.
There we go. So you're seeing this.
It's so
Oh.
pretty in here, apart from the creepy skeletons.
Yeah, the skeleton's
Yeah.
the only disturbing thing about this, it seems.
Why
There's
do
a
I
lot
have
of-
time to like try and make a sketch of what we've seen, just like really quick?
It seems there are some preparations whilst you're able to do this. Yes.
Excellent.
Okay.
Wow, this place is so full of life.
Life. Yes, they say it almost as soon as you say life.
Jinx.
Are they? I'm gonna point to the weird statue things. I'm like, are they like compost or, the earth kind of feeding off the decay?
They are one. They are now one, is what he's.
So yes.
They are part of a cycle.
So yes.
To embrace life means to embrace death. a natural cycle of things.
This is that's mighty humble.
How long have those guys been dead?
They all look to you simultaneously, like all the heads of the people
Oh.
inside, not the actual statue.
Yeah.
I'll say these guys who are here.
Like,
And as you ask that question, they say, for as long as we've been one.
So they're the original Suki Thieves?
Sigil.
Oh, right, yeah. I knew that.
That is one way of stating it. Yeah,
They're the elders, the roots.
they are.
Oh. True.
And something that I was meant to say right at the very beginning, right at the very end of the last session, is that there is a depiction of Elvish all the way around this, and across the domed ceiling as well. And it says, "Stone and thought fade into ruin. Only the wind in the leaves will endure." And that seems to be new as well. Like, they've shaped vines and greenery into actually spelling out this.
Right.
You can see that the dots are even as the eyes of the dot. The dot of the eyes are even punctuated with flowers.
Could I walk to the?
what are they, like secondary school girls?
I was thinking the exact same thing as like every girl I knew in secondary school.
Yeah, as you're going, you're picking up all of these flowers. You're starting to
Oh.
create sort of bouquet in
It's
your
alright.
hands.
Don't worry, I'm looking for something. So I want to walk to the base of the pillars, where all the skelly bobs are. Any loose toes or anything like that?
And you get close enough, you realize these are definitely not statues. There is a lifelike quality to them, and it's almost like they've been petrified in this state. Not turned to stone, but rather their rotted bodies have been kind of stuck here. And you can
Are
see
they-
moss has grown over them. They are, in fact, still wearing some sort of form of elvish armor. And there is also drapes, like tabards, that have almost completely gone green from the lichen and moss here.
Are they human size or are they bigger?
They're most definitely human size, yeah. A little bit taller than you.
Right. Huh. Well, who's ready to become one? Am I right?
Just quickly, the elves. Is there anything about them that's similar to sort of any elf tribes or anything that we know of on the mainland?
History check.
Okie dokie. 16.
16. You recognize some sure elvish features, and elven masonry as well seems to be evident here. Though from the mainland, not so much. Not some ones you've encountered at the very least.
I
There's-
was just
there seems to be-
interested to see if any, like, if they had originally come from down below, or if they had gone down and maybe had an influence below.
You mean like drow?
No, I mean
below?
when I say like they're in the sky, when I say down
Oh,
below,
right.
I mean like on our land.
Sure. There's definitely a resemblance, but it doesn't seem like they have direct lineage from them.
Okay.
It's perhaps another offshoot, another branch. But what I will say is, though, looking over them, it appears as though this is a familiar, recognizable depiction. And you remember seeing on the stonework when you first arrived on this island. Do you remember seeing the paintings
Hmm.
of all the elves exactly the same height and in the same posture behind a line of trees? It almost feels like this. All of these skeletons are exactly the same height and in the same pose. You also remember that the that depiction was new. That was something basically painted over the old. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, cool.
All right then. So, in that case, without further ado, they ask you to step up on either side of the steps, and they ask you to follow them around. Come, join us.
All right, no going back now. Can I sense
so.
Candlewick? I just want to make sure he's still there.
You feel a cold sensation from your scabbard. There is.
No, I meant like within me.
You're not sure. I mean, you can roll a perception check.
Perception 11.
Okay. No, you don't sense Candlewick there.
All right, too late now. Let's do this. Rip off the band-aid.
Okay.
As they say.
All right. Irina and Kashan, you come stepping up to here, and you almost feel like this is some sort of like royalty engagement almost, as you're both kind of being not pushed together, but flanked by either side of these, and you're left sort of staring at each other whilst these elves or these creatures form a circle around you. It's definitely
The
some sort
ultimate rock paper scissors tournament.
That's fine.
I win. Anyway.
As they form this circle around you, they ask you to stand up. Please stand by the throne.
Okay.
Yes, I will do so.
Okay. By standing here, it represents that there is none above you, none above us. We are equal. We share our needs. We share our aid. Becoming one will no longer rely on a greater power or a greater figure. We will have no need to revere anyone above you, nor pity any below you. You shall be on the same level as all. And he asks each of you to hold out a hand, please. And he gestures with his own, and the feminine sort of form from the other one here reaches out towards you, Irina, and the older, ancient one holds a hand out towards you, Kashan.
I'll
Okay.
outstretch a hand.
Okay. You see, as the hand is grasped, these tiny little sprouts begin to grow and coil around your arm, around your hand and wrist, and eventually it reaches up and all the way over to your shoulder, and you start to see little buds appearing over it as well.
Man, I wish
The
Andy
same
was here.
thing-
She'd love it.
Yeah. The same thing happens to you, Irina. And as both of you are undergoing this willingly, I won't roll for a save, but you start to see that the vines creep up around just like your neck, forming sort of like a necklace or a diadem, and eventually it reaches around, curls around your front, forming like a crown, and you see a crown forming around each of theirs as well.
May I quickly ask something?
Yes.
Because of course Annie's been playing her violin all this time. Can they hear it in here? because she will be playing it pretty loud and it will echo around the other space she's in.
You're trying to play it loud enough so they can hear inside the
Yeah,
chamber.
well, she's been playing it since they entered this place.
Of course,
so
yeah.
she's just continuously playing over and over and over again. I'm curious if they will hear it and it might be a link to them.
The sound is slightly muffled from the great vast amount of foliage in here. However, the sound does reach their ears as it probably goes out the window and comes in through the open roof, which is crumbled. So it's not really well soundproofed, as everything's sort of decayed and open to the sun. So I will say on the wind there is a slight tune which Andy is continuing to play.
And she'll just keep playing over and over and over again. She's not going to stop.
Okay. In that case, cool. All right, 1 second. Oh yeah, that's right. I'd like you both to roll perception checks. Everyone actually, in fact, even Andy here.
Oh, yeah, baby. Yeah. Wait, is that a good thing? Oh my god. 2 20s and a 19.
Okay. That is very good. In fact, almost all of you can perhaps see something. Whilst these others, the elves, are beginning to chant, and it sounds like a creaking of bark, sounds like kind of rustling of leaves, but they're definitely speaking some sort of language. And at this point, it's sort of starting to drown out even your violin, but maybe it's actually coming in tune with it. Snug? No. But even though this is happening, you hear a pebble drop from up high as if something disturbed it. And Andy, from the outside, you see something scampering around at the very top. Something has climbed up a nearby root.
Oh, that's snug.
You see Rip Dip has
Okay.
scrambled, and he's got a big pack of something over his shoulder. He's like, and you see he's just climbed up and over into the roof. And everyone else, you're holding hands and sort of feeling this ritual, and then one eye sort of pops open, looking around, and you do spot Riptip is going around the balcony, hopping from ledge to ledge, keeping to the shadows, and every time he is perhaps nearly spotted, he goes up against the wall and completely turns to stone. He probably resembles one of those statues, like holding it up, looking around, and then he goes across a nearby wooden beam, and his whole form turns to wood. And he looks like he's setting up something. You're not sure what it is. Little jars, or maybe little sacks of something. But he's placing them, and then he's like tying stuff, and he's setting something up, and you're not sure what it is.
Oh my god, he's gonna blow up the fucking.
But he won't, right? Because it's Temple 2, right?
No, that's not where we are. So we're in kind of like
Sigil
a
leaves.
ritual area within the sigil
Okay.
leaves, so we're
Okay.
not in the Temple of the Sun and Moon.
Ah, okay, fair enough.
Correct, yeah.
Oh god, we're screwed.
Oh my god.
Alright. Kishan, Arena, you feel a sensation around the back of your head. Feels like something is slowly wrapping around, like leaves are forming this kind of cap around the base of the back of your head. And you suddenly feel like a pinprick there, as if something is being inserted, and your mind suddenly flooded with images, with thoughts, with sounds, and you can feel like this tickling around your ears. And there's even a sensation around your nostrils and face as perhaps tiny little shoots are going and wrapping around it. but it's not like you can feel the roots. It feels like that's actually part of your skin, and you can smell flora. You can smell fertile earth. You feel the sun's rays upon your skin actually begin to invigorate you. They feel like eating a hearty meal, in fact, and it even increases your breathing. Your lungs seem to fill with each kind of ray of sunlight that rushes across your skin. The feeling is like you're sinking, but not in a bad way. It feels like you're being kind of enraptured. It feels like you're falling into a bed of flowers or laying down in long grass. And it is relaxing. It's peaceful. It feels like you're accepting something that someone offers you freely, a gift that is being given to you. And as this is happening, you're keenly aware that Riptip is climbing down a nearby vine and getting closer and closer to you guys. He looks like he's about to drop on top of the throne. Where is he? Grab his token. But this peace and tranquility of the ritual just about to be interrupted as you see Riptip jump down on top of the throne, kind of landing like 3-point landing. Where is he? Where is Riptip? Oh, there he is. Gotta grab the token. Yeah, just at the height of this ritual, when you feel you're perhaps at most one with these creatures, your minds meld together. Your thoughts and processes are of one. Riptip kind of lands down. He quickly hides behind a nearby pillar and becomes stone. Kishan, however, there is a sudden pulling, a tugging, whilst this sensation of one is coming towards you, and is being pulled towards the egg. There is a sense that whatever is affecting you is about to take over your mind and basically purge you of all individual aspects. And of course, you're already under the effects of a charm spell, and the egg kicks in, activates. Effectively, what you see, the egg is suddenly turns green. Well, you wouldn't see it actually because you've got it firmly packed away, haven't you?
Yeah.
Okay, so you don't see anything, but you definitely feel something happening to the egg, and your mind is suddenly pulled back into reality. You remember who you are. You suddenly remember your name, Kishan. You suddenly feel your fur, and you didn't realize what was happening at first, but now as you kind of open your eyes and there's a sense of clarity, you realize that all your fur had actually turned to green, verdant grass. And although it was a slow process, you didn't really feel it happening. Didn't actually sense until your mind becomes clear right now. Your fur goes back to its normal original color. You actually feel the vines on your head, and it's gripping a hold of it. At first, it felt like your skin, a natural appendage of you, but now you can feel it literally gripping a hold. As for Irina, you don't have the same feeling. You are still descending deeper into this serenity. And I'd like you to add a flaw to your character.
Okay.
The flaw is. Hmm.
Oh no.
Elves are number one.
Uh,
Elves are number one.
God, he's turned into one of a black kind.
Your flaw is we must eliminate individuality. We must become a singular voice. And yes, you're we, because you are now considered a mouthpiece for this tribe.
You're gonna have to say that again because I
Okay.
Went tinny again.
Did I go tinny?
We must eliminate individual.
Yes. We must become a singular voice. And you can also put that you have a weakness to fire as well. That's another thing.
What?
Yep.
Okay.
Well.
And yeah, I know it's bizarre, but it's the weirdest contradiction ever, especially for Irina here. And then lastly, you can put a bond.
Okay.
That is. Everyone has a responsibility to assist with the needs and needs of others, and it's good if the entire community shares interests and goals. So you can put shared interests and goals with the sigil leaf. Effectively, you are now one with peace and shared beliefs.
This is gonna be fun, isn't
It's
it?
a lot, but it's if you want the full thing. I mean, it's hard to summarize it all in one sentence.
Irina's become a hippie.
Yeah, almost.
Peace.
I've basically become not fun.
Yeah.
Not fun, yeah. You're not Irina anymore. Here, there's a full list of everything if you want. But if you can summarize that in a general gist on your flaws and bonds,
Oh my god.
then you can do that.
She's gonna use her ability. She's gonna set on fire and be like, "Oh, I'm burning!"
But this is your new set of beliefs right here, including a weakness to fire. Because as Rip Dip probably doesn't know exactly what this ritual entails, but he does definitely see the physical transformation having an effect over Irina. And Kashan, as you're sort of coming to and realizing your mind is back to your own, you're still charmed by Andy. Andy's still your best friend, and you want to steal everything. But Irina has transformed significantly.
In fact, in that case, very quickly, as I'm stood right next to Irina, I can see that her eyes are closed. Has she got anything tied down to her?
Is there anything loose and easy to grab from you, Irina?
Define what sort of thing are you looking for?
But that's
Anything
great.
that's not nailed down was the exact.
Scabbard,
So you've got the scabbard, you've got the compass around her neck, the pearl of power. Yeah, those three things in particular are in reach.
This is what you see when you look at Irina. This is the new Irina right here.
Wow!
You cut her hair, how dare you?
That's so cool.
Yeah, effectively. The scabbard there is this green kind of like tube-like substance, I guess. It's like bark.
Steph, if you want to like choose for me, Kashan's just gonna try and pick something that's not nailed down.
Okay, in which case I would probably go for either the compass or her mother's emblem, which obviously has your monastery's emblem on it.
In fact, that would be... Yeah, I'm going to go for the emblem, because that's something that kind of triggers in Kashan's mind, and it's like, oh, it's not nailed down. So yeah, I'll just try and steal that from Irina.
You little thief.
Okay.
Hey, it's not my
The
doing.
emblem. It's one of the last things that hasn't turned to a leafy, viney texture. Okay. Let me just sort out all this artwork.
Do you want me to roll for it, or because she's
No,
under
I'm
charm?
going to say during this ritual,
Okay,
Irina's mind doesn't seem to have a whole lot of weight on material goods anymore. They'd probably, even if they did notice, they'd likely let this slip and just let you have it anyway. But I will say roll a perception check whilst you do go to take this from her.
9.
9? Okay. You may not notice it then. But Okay. There's one last thing before Riptip intervenes here, and that is a flooding of thoughts and memories to your own mind, Irina. There, you was sketching down this place just before, and in your own mind's eye, you're sort of descending into a past as all the memories and thoughts of this tribe are now washing into you. And you suddenly remember standing here before. This memory isn't your own, but it is now. And you start to remember the ritual that took place here. This was a place for a king and queen elf of this tribe. This throne was once the seat of power for this clan. And you remember something happening right here. You're not sure exactly all the context behind it, but you remember elves pleading for something, for their lives perhaps? There's a confusion as to what to do. But you suddenly remember the elves, as they're pleading, suddenly succumbing to something. Their skin suddenly grows vines, and leaves start to pour out of every orifice, and even out of their nails, out of their very skin. Vines suddenly wrap up and around the entire cathedral of sorts. And it's this image just flashes inside your head that these elves are suddenly being afflicted by this disease. Perhaps it doesn't look pleasant. It doesn't look peaceful. How you're experiencing, it looks like they're experiencing a great amount of turmoil as these guys are just like, oh god, and their whole figures are being transformed into these tree folk. That image just flashes before you, before suddenly you're back into a sensation of being one and at peace. And then Riptip suddenly lands and goes, well, you can't understand him, can you? No, I guess not. But I guess, well, for the audience, he would definitely have been saying something like, stop right there. But for you guys, it's like, Tubi, Shoto, Abalu. And he lands down, and he seems to like have loads of strings in his hands. You're wondering what the hell's going on. Well, they're not very obvious as well. The strings are like tiny wires, effectively. And the sigil leaf turn, and Irina, you turn involuntarily with them, and you see an imposter. You see him as a danger, a threat, and you hear the voices inside your own mind. Seeker, they sound like they're all voicing their own thing, but it's coming to a unison, and that is intruder, heretic. He seeks to undermine us. He seeks to disrupt the ritual. Grab him.
Is this said out loud or only in
This is
Irina's
in
head?
Irina's mind. Kashan, you somehow still hear like an echo of it. Like it doesn't directly enter into your mind, but it's almost like it's like you're hearing a reverb of it
Oh,
from
sorry.
from somewhere. It's like you've got yeah, it's like you've got like a faulty connection perhaps, and you realize that echo is coming from an item that is attuned to you, attuned to your mind. Coming from Egbert.
Oh, fuck.
But Kishan, you are yourself. You have everything normal except the fact that you're charmed and want to steal stuff. You see them all suddenly reach up their arms, and vines begin to grow from them towards Riptip. He's like, Subu no slower. And they are all like, they all suddenly kind of like stop momentarily.
As part of like the hive mind, can I understand him?
You don't understand him, but you do understand what the others interpret that as, and that is, stop, halt. He threatens us.
With what?
Riptip says, Subo singi nam nam nam, and he holds up these tiny little wires, and you're not sure what they mean, but he pulls out something from his pocket, and it is a tiny little insect of sorts. and you suddenly hear a sensation of fear wash through the hive mind. He holds a termite. No!
Yes, num 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 means bomb.
Those creatures are a blight. They must not be allowed to run freely in our realm, for they will bring great disaster upon the sigil leaf. He must be stopped, but he threatens us. What do we do? What shall we do? Yes, what shall we do? Irina, you're also part of this. What do we do? What should you do?
How,
Do the Macarena.
You start to hear him try to. Yeah, he's trying to speak in common. He's like, Siggy leave, free, on the way.
I literally cast Whole Monster.
Okay, right, yeah. Sounds like he's trying to say free honorary hunters, because he's definitely understood that term a number of times.
So I need a wisdom saving throw.
No, he's
That's a
held.
fail. So I've technically stopped him.
No.
I'm going to just kind of like turn towards him and walk over and just grab him.
Okay. Yeah, he's paralyzed right now. For every 6 seconds, he can try to break free. At this point, the sigil leaf also begin to wrap their vines. Seeing Irina has done this, you hear like, "Well done. Yes, trap him, cage him." And as you're gripping a hold of him, you see the vines wrap around him and form like a little cylindrical cage of roots and vines. They're not crushing him; they're just encasing him in vines and roots. And Kishan, you're sort of there beside him as this cage is coming up. Do you try to grab him and risk getting encaged yourself, or do you step away from it? You can see the roots like growing around you.
Sorry. No, I don't.
You don't grab him.
I don't grab him.
Okay, so you quickly step away as you see this cage burst and wrap around him, similar to like a wall of thorns. But it doesn't seem to hurt him. He just looks around like. As this happens, he will try to break free again at the end of his turn. Oh well. Sorry, I double clicked, but it is a 21. He would break free. He's like, yeah. And suddenly he's up against the vines, and he realizes his hand's being held taut. No, Kishan, no. Oh, I told you they're bad.
I'm going to turn around to the sigil leaves.
We mean only peace.
I'm going to say, I'm going to overtalk the voice in my head and just say, this is not the way that it needs to be done. At peace is not restraining, regardless of the threat. He is worried about what this is bringing upon everyone within these islands. I realize I've lost the Kashan voice.
It's almost like there's a residual oneness with you, but you are still
Right,
yourself.
that's why I've dropped Irina's accent for this.
Okay.
Yeah, your accent would definitely be a thing of individual. That would definitely have been washed away. Yeah. Okay. Roll me a persuasion check real quick, Kashan.
Come on. No, that's perception. Fuck. However, it is a -1.
It would have been a 15. All right. They say we do not wish to hurt him, but you must stop whatever this foolish act is. And although you don't hear that directly, you definitely hear the echo again coming from Egbert.
Then allow us to return him to his home. He is here. He is here out of fear, just as you are now. You fear for your lives for what he is trying to do.
Termite's gonna numb you up.
Fear he is here for. Shut up, Richter.
Yeah, they definitely, that seems to hold true. And they kind of in turn agree at the same time. They're like, release him.
Allow me to escort him out. And I will turn to Rip Dip and I will say, the thing for follow, because I'm trying to scroll up to... Ah, here we go. Mon.
Okay. He says, yeah, that's right. Honorary Hunter Bozo. And he seems to say that again, but as the cage is released, he looks towards Irina and points and goes, well, Gib Schmub. And he just points to it and says something you don't understand, Kashan. You look towards Irina and she has definitely changed completely. She doesn't even recognize, you don't even recognize her voice anymore.
Mon, waiting.
He says aloud, Irina? You don't recognize that name, Irina. You no longer have a name. You are one with this tribe. You will? Or do you reply?
Oh, I mean, if he's calling me Irina, then I don't respond at all because that's not my name.
Oh. You see his lower lip kind of quiver slightly. His eyes almost begin to water. He looks towards you, Kashan, and says, he hangs his head and says, sorry. And then he yanks the wires and goes, for Bozo time! And jumps down.
The Sentinel, if I'd say that.
He's not making an attack.
He's making an attack.
If he goes to do something drastic, then Eldritch Sniper.
Oh, okay, you can roll to hit him. But he pulls all the wires, and you see suddenly little bags open up, little jars tip over, and termites begin flooding in. Oh god, you hit him quite a few times. No, actually, just once with the crit. So that he leaps over your head, and you fire 2 blasts. Except, that's a thing. Yeah, you know what? Actually, I'm going to say the blasts do go through. The smoke suddenly emanates from your hand. And the one that crits him, you can roll damage for.
Because it's not fire, it's smoke.
It's smoke, yeah, sure. That's true.
Otherwise, I would have just used a bonfire on him.
He kind of lands into the mud, rolls, and then gets sniped by one of these blasts. This is where you suddenly see termites flooding everywhere. You see little bugs suddenly crawling down and nibbling at the wood. And at first, there's a shriek of terror within your mind, Irina, as if a great evil has been unleashed. And a moment later, there's kind of an awkwardness because you just see these little bugs just crawl down and just start nibbling at wood very, very, very slowly. They're not actually just like, no, it's not like a massive monster has just been uncaged. You just see little bugs crawling down over tree trunks.
Termites that eat a chair in 2 seconds flat.
Yeah, they're not like super termites. You just see them sort of like nibbling slightly, very minor. And Rip Dip just lands. He gets up to his feet and keeps running, but you suddenly hear, I guess, a voice in your head. Is that it? Wait, What type of termites are these? Investigate.
I will investigate.
You have a look over them.
I will
Yeah,
also
roll me a
investigate.
Roll a what?
Roll me a nature check.
17.
Okay, yeah. These aren't like these aren't like mad powerful termites. They are like pea bugs, right? They're just a nuisance, but they're part of everyday nature. And they probably already got termites already. I mean, sure, this is definitely a nuisance, but it's not going to really destroy their way of life. And Borzo is just like running away and giggling to himself, like, Borzo, best trap. And he quickly rushes out. You see, Andy, you see Rip Dip suddenly jump through the front. He's also covered in termites as well. He's like, he's rushing past you.
She's still playing. She doesn't really even care. She's just concentrating on trying to keep this song going, hoping it's a connection for them.
Andy, Mon! Quickly grabs a hold of your hand.
No, she hasn't got any hands to use because she's got her violin in her hand, so
Mon!
she just kicks
grows
him.
more frustrated.
She just kicks him out of the way and she stays.
There. All right.
Oh no.
Everyone else, what are you doing, Kishan, Irina? You see these sigil leaf are going around, trying their best to kind of contain the threat. They're using vines to sort of crush them, squash them. But there's too many of them. They're just burrowing into the wood.
I'm just going to say the Borzo tribe are trying to restore balance. They are trying to slow down the growth so it does not overthrow us.
Your voice. It's not quite as one as what we'd like.
I'm
Your-
attempting to try to sound like them.
Yeah. Roll a deception check.
Come on. Come on.
I'm good at those. 7.
Hmm. The ritual must have been disrupted. The Borzo have much to answer for now. But I sense there is something, at least something within you is one, but you are not quite as one. And you hear a voice inside your head, Arena. Like, yes, he does not look one. He does not look like us. The ritual must have not worked. Should we restart the ritual? Should we
Do I
do it again?
semblance of my relationship with Kashan prior?
There is, yeah. You've got all your memories with Kishan as well.
Well, then, can I use that as a... Well, technically, he's part of me, so he is part of the one.
Ooh, okay. Yeah. Sure.
Kashan made Kashan a promise, so that internally, for me, makes him part of my one. So I'd want him to be part.
Okay. What do you say to the voice? The chorus.
I'm gonna think about, obviously, all the memories of him, like, obviously, protecting me and, like, vice versa. And all the sort of shared memories of, obviously, entrusting each other with, like, the secrets of, like, my mother and his religion sort of thing. All that sort of downtime we had. And I'll just be like, he is part of my one, therefore part of our one. He has done me no harm and will do you no harm.
Roll me a persuasion check with advantage.
Persuasion.
As you even just thinking about these memories, you realize that it's like dropping a stone into a pond, and your memory becomes a ripple effect that goes into the minds of every single one of these sigil leaf.
20. I like having a charismatic character.
Yeah, it's good. And as a result, that ripple seems to echo back. Like, yes, he is one in mind. in spirit, even though he does not look like one. He is one with us. He will bring unity. He will bring us together. We must take him to the Temple of the Sun.
Really must.
All right.
Fuck yeah, I want to go now!
All right. Well, you
I
can.
mean-
Let's do it.
In time.
All right. Okay. You are being led out by one of the sigil leaf, whilst the others seem to be very, very much occupied with the termites quelling. Although it wasn't quite as dramatic as Rick was hoping, it definitely coils quite a fuss and quite a nuisance for them. But you are led out, and you see Irina. Sorry, you see Andy is still playing the violin.
What were you saying, Steph?
Before we leave, I just wanted to be, obviously having worked in a library, I want to know if we had a way of dealing with termites, and then obviously I can flash that memory to them to help them.
Yeah, maybe. Sure. How do you deal with termites in a library?
Fire.
Yeah. Irina, you remember that there wasn't much of a termite problem after you burnt down half the library.
But like, you know, old books, like they're technically paper, which is wood, and you know, certain artifacts, and the building itself is probably quite old.
Sure. So, we must renew. Yes. We must throw out the decaying. Renew the old. Reinvigorate. Regrow. And what fire? You must be out of your mind. We must be out of our mind.
It's not just like after a fire, there's regrowth.
Whilst this is true, a fire could spread. A fire cannot be controlled.
Oh, no.
That's what you think.
And as
you say so.
as you're having this sort of sensation, this memory of when Candlewick was at his height of uncontrollableness, Irina, you can't help but perhaps cough a slight bit. And as you cough, you yourself notice a small puff of smoke, but you think nothing of it, perhaps just as a memory.
Odd.
Chris, you managed to mute yourself. Oh, there we go.
No, that was it. That was all I was saying.
Oh, okay.
So you come back out, Andy is still playing the violin. And you see Ridley
Andy! I'm just going
trying to
to
get him
dumb
to-
tackle
trying to
hug
get
her.
She just makes a really ugly on the violin as you do that.
I mean, it's just so much of us as if you were gone forever.
So you're okay, obviously.
Well, if you're okay, I'm okay.
What about Irina?
Irina looks completely different.
What the fuck happened to Irina?
Oh, that's a good point. I'll pull out and I'll just like I'll get the sigil, just kind of like with my back turned to Irina and just show her as I got this from her.
Okay.
And also these, and he'll start pulling out rocks and like sticks and flowers and stuff. I got everything that wasn't nailed down.
Excellent.
Actually, Kishan, I will say that whilst you were there, you remember I mentioned there was a lot of crowns.
Oh yeah,
Crowns of flowers.
yeah.
There was actually perhaps some sort of crown actually sat on the throne. But whatever it's belonged to was long since gone. I'll say you picked that up as well.
Oh cool. I'll just he would just be like, oh, I almost forgot the best one. He'll pull out the crown and just go, put it on her head. It's like, I thought it would suit you.
best not wear this. Hides it.
Thieves.
Okay.
Yeah, you see it is filled with glittering emeralds and gems. Probably worth a lot of money.
Ooh.
Probably.
It might need a little bit of cleaning up. There's lots of bits of twigs and leaves still stuck in it. Maybe that's part of the aesthetic. Not quite sure.
How long has it been as well? Because of course this will eventually wear off.
It's gonna be about, I'll say, half an hour. He's in there for.
So I still got another solid half hour of the.
Unless I decide to turn it off.
Yeah. So I'll
Which I
be
can
like.
do now, but I don't know. Should I risk
But this
doing
is
it?
too much fun.
Yeah, this is too much fun. Okay.
You hear a voice, Irina. The usurper is still here. Rip Dip hides behind Andy's cloak.
Oh, okay. He was a heretic a minute ago, now he's a usurper.
One of the both.
My answer.
You will control the creature.
I mean, I saved his life twice, so he knows I could do the exact opposite if he doesn't behave.
You can't understand what they're saying, Andy, but it seems like Irina is now a voice for them.
I don't like this Irina.
And I'd like you to make a perception check, Andy, as Irina gets closer towards you. Perhaps threatening Rip Dip, but it's not really. It's just sort of standing close.
Andy.
No one's noticed yet. That's interesting. No one's noticed. You're just probably more awestruck by this new visage of Irina. She does not look like anything she did before. And the voice,
Oh,
Creeped out, I would think.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's more, yeah, that's probably it.
Chris, because I left my familiar with the group, just been posting random things in the chat. Would he get a perception check?
Oh, yes, sure, but you wouldn't be able to see it yourself.
Yeah, I know, but
Okay,
considering he
Tacklo.
can talk, you know.
Okay, Tacklo can roll a perception check.
Okay, and is it based on sight, hearing, or smell?
Right.
Okay, so with advantage.
Oh
Natural
my
20. There you go. That like
Wow.
counted out everything. Tacklo is used to being in many forms. He's used to be able to. I mean, he's been a dragon. He's been a bird. I'm sure he's been an owl or something, or even a
Yeah.
spider. He's used to being able to shift and metamorph into anything. Dragon is most definitely his usual preferred state, but seeing this over Irina isn't something that necessarily shocks Tacklo. In fact, he peers in to Irina's eyes to know if she is still herself. That is what truly counts. Although Tacklo takes many forms, he is still Tacklo. And as he looks peering deep into Irina's eyes, there is a swirling, tiny, circular smoke trail, just sort of swirling in the what are they called? In the whites of her eyes, which are now instead black and smoky. And the smoke is very reminiscent of candle wicks.
Tacklo will just speak into the heads of the two because telepathy is a thing for pseudo dragons.
Okay.
One of the most useful forms. Just goes, wait, I think she's still there. This might be part of whatever she's planned. Wait.
I respond back in my head. Oh wait, does he actually hear me? Or can he only speak? He can't
I think you
demonstrate.
can speak into your head. I don't think you can speak back.
Yeah, so I respond in my head.
You tried to, yeah, sure.
He just
Okay.
sort of tilts his head, confused, as he doesn't hear any response.
Andy's just going to casually look over to Leafy Rena and say, "Did you like the music?" Like, seeing if she actually could hear it.
would I have heard it?
Yes, you did hear it, yeah.
Okay. I don't really know how she'd respond to that.
Yes, we enjoyed it. Enjoyed it.
It didn't seem to help though.
It was a wonderful tribute to the wind.
We
That
prefer
is
tech.
so not Irina. Give it back.
we we prefer techno. Techno.
What is what?
Prefer jungle rhythm.
Jungle rhythm.
Nonetheless, though, there's an overwhelming sense in Irina's mind that says, now we must take Kashan to the temple. Yes, to the temple. For fuller understanding. For he wishes to commune with the sun.
Kashan will echo to the temple.
Yes. We shall lead you now.
We are going to a temple?
Yes, we're going to take Kashan to the temple so he can learn more about the unity of the One.
Of the one.
You sound really, really like a hippie. Shut up.
Shut up. Oh no, wrong voice I'm mimicking.
Yeah, they're definitely seeing through your little disguise, perhaps, but Irina is definitely covering for any mishaps you make, Kashan, in that she continues to convince the tribe that because you are one with Irina, you are one with them.
With
So,
them.
yes, we will head back to the others, but for now, we'll say that you are practically on your way, unless there's anything you want to do, making preparations. The Sigilly are going to take you straight to the Shrine of the Sun.
The
I will
sun.
have to go to bed in 15 minutes, but yeah, there's pretty much nothing else I want to do.
Okay. Gotcha. All right, Kashan, as you leave, you can't help but take every vegetable that's on the way.
Yep. I'm just picking it up and handing it straight to Andy.
Just walking out in the arms full of vegetables.
Tomatoes, pomegranates,
And the
and
vegetables
then
like, John, stop. There's no more room.
There's always room if it's not nailed down.
he says as he picks up a giant pumpkin.
I've created a monster.
I found this and thought you would like it.
You cut the job. Just leaves
Alright.
a big pumpkin in his hands.
Meanwhile, on the other side of the continent, or island, okay, you ready? We're going to go. Well, you go to Temple of Moon. Yes.
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 Before we were to leave, I thought we could take some time and I could keep my word to you before I last left about teaching you about your rusties.
Oh, yes.
I have taught Rip Dip how to use them, and maybe I could teach you.
What do you know of Rusties?
I know that some of them have special uses. I also know that if you continue to touch them with your claws, you will damage the use of them.
I kind of look at their own hands for a moment. We had Rusties?
You do.
Oh. He opens up the chest and says, they already hurt. They already broken.
Not all of them. And some of them only part broken. And I want to and with his permission, I want to quickly organize the ones that I saw when I detected magic, the ones that still have uses and work to some extent.
Okay, alright. So, once again, I need you to roll me an Arcana check to perhaps see what is actually a magical item and what just looks like junk.
Like junk.
Or if you've got a detect magic spell, that will obviously help.
I mean, I can detect magic.
Can you cast that as a ritual?
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
I believe.
Yes.
I can as well.
Yeah. So we could both do it, and then we could sort through them quick, and then
Yeah,
get
To be honest, whilst you're doing this, Karis is probably having a nap. He's not helping.
Oh god, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
just like, right, you play with Frosties.
Okay, so give me an Arcana check anyway. This is
24.
24. All right, sweet. Okay, so there's a number of different little wands. One of them you recognize as a wand of well, seems to be like a wand of conduction at first, which traditionally is something that you would use to create orchestral music. But it seems like it's been repurposed for something. There's like little cogs and wheels on it, and there seems to be like receptors and is that a coil of some sort? You're getting flashbacks of perhaps the halls of reanimation. But it looks like they've retuned this wand of conducting to be a wand of conductor, like an electrical conductor.
Oh, so it's like a wand of lightning bolts,
Or,
sort of thing.
or
Possibly,
a wand to absorb elements lightning.
maybe something like that. I'll say that it'll definitely take some playing around with. But it seems to be like they've repurposed it for sure. Maybe they've modeled it on a wand of conducting and now use different parts and different components to make it a different thing entirely.
Yeah.
Um,
Without messing about, how many items, when organized into piles, how many still possess magical?
well, we're going through them
Okay,
now
okay.
currently. Okay.
Without me
There is
inventing
actually a number of bolts as well, and they resemble bolts, like an actual like screw that you'd push in, but it seems to be the right length and size that it would actually fit very snugly into a crossbow. They are an ammunition of sorts for a crossbow, but they are magical,
but the Barzal wouldn't really use.
and they look to be made of silver.
Interesting.
It seems like the Borzo did know how to use crossbow-like weapons.
Do any of them look like they use crossbow-like weapons now, or is it just spears?
They just use spears and very primitive weapons, yeah.
Right, I just push it over to the pile of useless stuff.
Useless.
In terms of, because I'm teaching the Barzal, I'm not teaching.
Oh, for the Borzo, you mean? Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe a third pile, like magical
Yeah.
but not useful for you.
Yeah, a third pile.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Then, yeah.
But they're not just silvered ammunition. I'll say that with an Arcana check, you can tell that these are +2 walloping ammunition. Silvered walloping ammunition.
Damn, that's pretty
Plus-
cool.
+2 ammunition.
+2 walloping ammunition.
What does walloping do?
It is something that can knock people prone.
Oh.
Yeah, these bolts are so heavy that when they strike the target, they just knock them down. They're not really made for piercing, as you see the end is like it's flat, like a bolt. But yeah, we'll say there's like at least a few of those.
Well.
Like a pack of them, effectively. All right, back to the list. What else we got on here? Yeah, sure, why not? There's a clockwork amulet as well, which is a common magical item you recognize. It's not too fantastical, but nonetheless, you can write it down. Clockwork amulet.
Okay, I should write all these down.
There is some sort of key or device. You're not sure what it is. It looks like it looks almost like too symmetrical to be a key. Do you know what I mean? Like it doesn't have like a complex look to it. But maybe it's some sort of device that it's used for something. Who knows? Either way, you can put just mystery key as well. That's another thing you can write down. Mystery key. It does seem to again have a silvery quality to it. And the magic that is coming off of it is like abjuration, I guess. Okay, what else we got here? There is a pole, and as you kind of pull it out, it seems to again be silvery in texture. Look. Yeah, you're not sure what the command word for this is, but you recognize the pole as some sort of collapsing pole that can extend and stretch, as well as again collapse. But that would take some time to figure out the actual command word for it. You definitely recognize it. Probably all kinds of devices in here probably had collapsible or extendable properties so that they could be used as tools. Because as you're routing through here and organizing it, you do start to see that the more hardy objects seem to be actually tools. Hammers, wrenches, that kind of thing. So, many different tools. What else we got? Yeah, I'll say that you do find probably an immovable rod. But it's more like an immovable cog. That can be, it's on like a long pole that has like a, like a screw, like a spiraling screw pole. And at one end it's got this twistable cog that perhaps turns it on and off. But as you kind of like twist one end, it seems to just suddenly freeze up in the air, and you definitely recognize it as something akin to an immovable rod. So you can write one of those down as well. But as you're going through all of these and organizing them, you're perhaps looking for something that actually works for them, like as a
something they could actually use as maybe a
make use of.
weapon or something that just does something.
There's not many weapons really of sorts. The closest thing you can find is like a hardy tool, perhaps like a hammer or what's it called? Like a wrench or something? Wrench? Anyway, yeah, no, you don't really find weapons that they could probably utilize. They're mostly tools and components.
Anything that seems like
Something can probably be fashioned as a mace, perhaps.
Yeah.
Sorry, hang on.
I think I'm gonna take the time to check out the wand of conductors.
Okay, checking out the one. Okay, so
Like just identify.
yeah.
We're doing this, and as far as we're aware, everything's going fine over there.
Okay.
And Carius is just sleeping.
Alright, so as you identify this thing, you realize that there's a number of different properties it has going for it, and they're all sort of electricity based. They can be, you can basically flourish a sort of net of electricity and shape it into, I guess, line work. It looks like it can also be used to make loud cracks, like a literal lightning strike, like. It can also be used to make a large flash of light. Seems you can also create almost sort of a music with it, because as the lightning whistles around, it creates that. When you've all seen Naruto, when sound of that chirping birds, it's something like that, almost akin to that. There's so much lightning hitting and hopping the air. It sounds like a chorus of birds, kind of like a whistling.
Give him a wand of Chidori.
Yeah, Chidori. That's the one, Chidori.
Yeah, I'm gonna like teach him how to use that.
Okay, cool.
It seems simple enough.
Yeah, they seem to get the hang of the loud banging one, that's for sure. like a loud crack of lightning. They
Like
seem to like fizz and whiz it around. Like, oh,
Yeah, I figure if I teach the leader, he can then, in turn, when they've got the time, teach everyone else.
okay, awesome.
So
Alright.
I'm just going to single it out to the chief.
Awesome. All right. Yeah, you hand it over to him. Once he's done sort of playing around with it, he says, "Oh, we need to get going, though."
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we probably should. And I'll, yeah. I'll put
We
stuff-
lead you. We know fastest way to Temple of Moon.
Oh, really?
I take you myself. Yes. Chief Jackrack lead way.
Okay. Are we bringing the items so I can continue to teach you on the way?
Um.
So
Now
I
we will.
have more.
We will go on the way and find out more on way.
Yes.
You take with.
Okay.
All right. Okay. So with that, you're led off into the jungle. They pick up a trail very quickly. Looks like they go back and forth between this place a lot, and eventually you're led into the jungles. At the same time, we cut back to the other group who are also being led deeper and into the jungles. And well, I think there's a good place to pick up next time.
So we come to meet at the temple.
As there'll probably be a briefer moment of travel, but with your guides teaching you the way, you'll probably get there without much intrusion, I'm sure. But yeah, I think there's a good place to stop. So we'll find out next time. Finally, probably going to get to the actual entrance of the. In fact, I'll even take you onto the maps, because you'll be on the other sides of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh crap.
They're like somewhere over here, and they're right over
Okay.
there.
This side is basically the. Oh wait, it's the wrong side. Oh well, I'll sort it out for next time. Don't you worry, because you're both coming from different angles. But for next time, we'll see what happens when you finally get to the ruins. For now, though, we're going to wrap it up and say goodbye for now. But we'll be back next week, same time, and you can also catch us on Sunday. Well, I'll be running Baba Yaga's Dancing Hut, The Witch Hunters, and again, you can catch us on Monday, where James will be DMing the Curse Breakers. And lastly, straight after that, with Tomb of Annihilation, I'll be running the Last Resort Company. But yeah, catch us all. Full schedules on our Twitch. Have a little look. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.
Bye bye.